ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome everybody to our luncheon. Thanks for everybody for coming out on the back of Labor Day weekend. I'm sure we'll have a few more come in the door, but we're going to go ahead and get started with our program. First and foremost, I'd like to ask Pastor Gary Phelps from Oak Hill Baptist Church to please come up and bless our meal.
Let's pray together. Lord, thank you for this day that you've blessed us with, for this community that you allow us to live in. And Lord, I pray for our leaders and our businesses and all that happens in this area. And Lord, thank you for us being able to come together to fellowship. Thank you for the food, Lord. You've blessed us and you've given us a great place to live, and we thank you for that. And we give you this day, and may it be something that would be glorifying to you. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Phelps. We have a couple of Two for Tuesdays today. I'm going to ask, first and foremost, if I could, Chris Gibson. I see Chris over there. Hopefully he's not eating right now. He can come on up. Chris is with Continental Refinery, and he's going to talk a little bit about a few things they have going on, and I'd ask him to please come up now. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Continental Refining Company, we want to thank the Chamber for the opportunity to share our plans with you all today. First, we'll begin with some background on who we are. Continental Refining Company purchased the Somerset Refinery in 2011. Somerset Refinery had been a producer and distributor of petroleum fuels such as gasoline, diesel, and other fuel-related products for many years. We operated under this concept until 2018, when it was decided to idle the refinery and undergo economic and engineering study to best choose how to revamp the facility for future use. After roughly 2 years of analysis, the results revealed an excellent regional opportunity to construct a soybean processing facility, biodiesel production plant, and support of distribution of petroleum fuel products, services, and lubricants. In April of 2021, the CRC team decided to proceed with the project, estimated at a cost of roughly $30 million, having a construction schedule of approximately 18 months, and providing nearly 30 jobs. Though we have experienced some delays, we anticipate the soy and biodiesel plants to be operational by end of this year. As for the fuels distribution, fuels equipment and service, and lubes portion of our business, we were fortunate to start this piece at the beginning of 2022. This portion of our business provides gasoline, diesel fuel, fuel tank, and dispensing equipment, as well as a variety of lubes, and is currently well underway. With the completion of the soybean and biodiesel plants, the following additional products will be offered: soybean meal, soybean oil, soybean hulls, biodiesel, and crude glycerin. So how does all this work together? We will receive local and regionally produced soybeans and process those into the following soybean products: meal, hulls, and oil, which can all be used as an ingredient for animal or human consumption, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, fuels, and other commercial and industrial uses. We then will use our soybean oil and possibly other vegetable oils, fats, and greases as raw material for our biodiesel plant to produce pure biodiesel, commonly referred to as B100, and crude glycerin. Much like the soy products, these products have a variety of commercial and industrial uses. Our target market for the B100 will primarily be for fuel use. In addition, we purchase conventional gasoline and diesel fuel wholesale from various rack locations such as Knoxville, Lexington, and Louisville, either shipping directly to our customers or storing at our facility to distribute into smaller quantities, or eventually combining with our B100 to produce various biodiesel fuel blends. To accompany our fuels business, we also provide a wide variety of lubes, greases, and DEF to keep your equipment and operations running smoothly, offering an assortment of brands. To further complement our fuels and lube business, we stock and offer a variety of tanks, dispensing equipment, and accessories for most on-site fueling needs. We offer purchase and lease-to-own options on this equipment, and initial installation is free of charge. Ongoing annual routine preventative maintenance will be offered as well. This service will ensure the integrity of your stored fuel is maintained, reducing the likelihood of contaminants that could jeopardize the reliability of your equipment. So why did we do this? The ability to produce soy-based biodiesel and petroleum products in Somerset will open new markets while providing farmers, fuel users, vendors, investors, and the community a solid business opportunity that will provide positive economic impact for the entire region. An example of the value this venture will bring is to our farmers, particularly farmers in the region CRC serves, whom often have a 400-mile round trip to get their soybeans to market. The CRC plant location will offer significant time and monetary savings to those currently traveling to sell their soybeans or buy those soybean products. The synergy of farmers selling CRC their soybeans, which then can be processed into products they can buy to feed their animals and fuel their farms, should prove beneficial to all in our community. In closing, we couldn't be more excited about what we are doing. For the suppliers, customers, and employees who have worked with the company for some time, I can't think of anything more exciting than watching the past be transformed at this magnitude. And to those new to the company, how cool is it to be involved in a part of an undertaking of this size? For those interested in learning more about our products and services, feel free to stop by and talk to me or any of the great folks at the CRC table or booth, or run by one of the Midland Farms or Circle K locations to purchase CRC fuels. Or check us out on the web at www.conrefco.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next, I'm going to ask from Somerset Christian School, Dr. Ron Gleaves, if he'd like to come forward. They have a very special guest that's going to be coming to town, and I'm sure Dr. Gleaves would like to take a second to talk about that.
He told me I had 2 minutes. He gave a Baptist preacher 2 minutes to share, but I talk fast, so let's see if we can't get it done. Many of you know that through the years, Somerset Christian School has hosted the Corral Leadership Banquet. We've had politicians and athletes and actors come and speak to us during that time. I have not been able to attend one because the last time Somerset Christian was able to host one of these things was before COVID. So we're very excited to be able to host this again on Thursday night, October 20th. Kevin Sorbo. Do you know that name? Raise your hands. Okay. All right. Most of you do. Most people go, Kevin Sorbo. Once you see his face, you know who he is. He is our speaker for the night. He played the role of Hercules many years ago. He's been featured in Andromeda, the God's Not Dead movies, and Soul Surfer. So we're very excited. This is our main fundraiser for the year. We're selling tables for $1,500 to $2,500 and $4,000, and each of those levels get certain amenities that go with them and individual tickets for $200. We're excited to be a part of the Somerset community. I've been here for a year and a half now. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but we're excited to be a part of this community, and we would be honored if you would like to take part in that night and come listen to Mr. Sorbo speak and support the mission and ministry efforts there at Somerset Christian School. I'm located to your right over here after the meeting. If you would like to have any information, a handout, or a sign-up sheet, if you can't find me, just look for the biggest, ugliest guy in the room, and that will be me, okay? So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Dr. Gleaves, we got a clock on you there. I think it was 1:42, so you did good. Thank you, sir. A couple additional things here. On September 22nd, the Center for Rural Development will be hosting the Imagine the Possibilities Community Technology Showcase. The showcase will be held from 9 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. There's no admittance fee for that. It's completely free. This event will highlight how important a technologically literate workforce is to the growth of our local and regional economy. The showcase will bring together businesses, community members, schools, and individuals who will show how they use technology on a daily basis. The public is invited, and there is no admission fee. For more information or to set up an exhibit or a table, please see this Center for Rural Development's website or contact Cloyd Bumgardner. Cloyd, you're here, aren't you? There you are right over there, 606-492-4259. Cloyd's also got flyers on the event that you can get. He's going to share that with me, and I'll make sure to share that with you all as well. So thank you, Cloyd, for sharing that information with me. Also, just want to put in a quick plug. I see my buddy Chris Girdler over there. We're going to put in a quick plug for the air show. That's not this Saturday. That's next Saturday. It's going to be on September the 17th. We are expecting thousands of people to be out this year. We have worked tirelessly. We work in partnership, SPEDA, the Chamber, Lake Cumberland Regional Airport, to bring you what I would classify as the best air show in this part of the state. It's going to be fantastic. Every act this year is new, except for, I think the jet truck is back. Everybody liked the jet truck last year, but I think everything else, they've got a Russian MiG. They've got some really neat aerial displays they're going to be doing this year. We've got tons of food trucks. We've worked out a lot of the kinks from year one. We had 6,000 people show up. We thought we were going to have about 2,000, so we've worked out some of those kinks. It should be a great air show. That's going to be on the 17th of September. Bring the family out. It should be a wonderful day. Also, I want to recognize our information tables that are here. This is a free service we provide for our chamber member businesses, companies, nonprofit organizations. If you ever are interested in having an information table, please let us know. And we take those kind of on a first-come, first-served basis. And when they're gone, they're gone. There is no charge. There's just limited space in the room here. So I'm going to recognize everybody that's here. Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital, App Harvest, Habitat for Humanity, The Chalet, Brightview Health, Griswold Holiday Lighting. I bet nobody can guess which table is his. Pretty excited about that one. Continental Refinery, Cumberland Nursing and Rehab, Alzheimer's Association, Heads Up Digital Television, ASR Massage, WTLO Somerset 106, the United Way of South Central Kentucky, Campbellsville University, SPEDA, the Kentucky Cancer Program East, Cumberland Falls State Park, the Center for Rural Development, and Rio's Mobile Blasting. If we could give these businesses a big round of applause, please. We've got a big program. We're excited to have our guest speaker here today. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over now to my boss, President of the Chamber for 2022, Ms. Tiffany Finley.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the September Chamber Luncheon. I hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. Thanks for coming. I know this feels like a Monday, but we do appreciate you coming out. We would like to welcome our guests, our public officials and their representatives, and our members. Thank you all so much for coming. Next, we would like to recognize all our world-class chairman and ambassador circle sponsors. Those are located on your table tents and up here on the wall. We are just so lucky to have such a supportive community, and they play such a huge role in the Chamber's success. So let's give them a round of applause. We would like to thank the Center for Rural Development for hosting us today, Karen's Catering and Event Planning for our lovely meal, and Coca-Cola Bottling and Pepsi Cola Bottling of Somerset for our beverages. Next, we will have Sean Daughtery, our Vice President, to come up and welcome our new members.
In the last month, Bill's been out there working to get new members. We have 10 new members this month. I'll start with the Braunston Water Association. Jennifer Tucker. If you're here, please stand to be recognized. Next, Cabin Connections, John Allen. Hadley Cates Boutique, Corina Ranjo. JM Pro Roofing, Jordan Menard. Oasis at Lakeshore, Jade Johnson. Somerset Hardwood Flooring, Simon Mortimer. Rios Mobile Blasting, Carlos Rios. Southern Kentucky Vascular, Dr. Don Brown. Sunrise Cafe, Kenny Salazar. Tourism Television Network, Edward Smith. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to recognize our incredibly hardworking ambassadors. If you're an ambassador for the Chamber, please stand up so we can properly recognize you. And this month's Ambassador of the Month is once again Reese Shook from Courtyard by Marriott. Congratulations, Reese. Okay, today's lunch sponsors are Kingsford Charcoal, and they're unable to be here today, but we also have Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital, and today we have with us Kathleen Bradley, who is their marketing director, and she's going to come up and say a few words on behalf of the hospital.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good afternoon. We have many exciting initiatives that are happening at Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital, including our innovative robotics-assisted surgical program. We're really proud of the growth we have accomplished with our program, and we've recently reached the milestone of performing 1,000 robotics-assisted surgeries since we began in the year 2020. Our robot is also currently the busiest in the state of Kentucky. Today, we are focusing on one of our game-changing technologies, robotics-assisted total knee replacements. We want to share this 3-minute video with you featuring 2 of our excellent orthopedic surgeons that are performing robotic surgeries, Dr. Jesse Pace with Lake Cumberland Orthopedics Sports Medicine and Dr. Leslie Schwindel with Lake Cumberland Orthopedics. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Leslie Schwindel, and I've been a physician for 13 years and an orthopedic surgeon for 7 years.
Dr. Jesse Pace, an orthopedic surgeon, subspecialized fellowship trained in sports medicine. I've been practicing since 2010.
Robotic-assisted surgery is using computer navigation and robotic-assisted tools to help make more precise measurements and cuts within joint replacement surgery, which can improve alignment, help with more accurate sizing of implants and ligament balancing, and all of this leads to better outcomes for patients. A real-life analogy for robotic-assisted knee replacement would be a GPS in a vehicle where you input your destination and it guides you on how to get there.
The way it works is it helps the surgeon verify that all the components that we implant are in perfect alignment and all the gaps are balanced in the knee so that you get more longevity out of the implant, which means it'll last longer, it's balanced better. In that sense, it'll be better for the patient because their knee will be more like a native knee.
The normal patient for a knee replacement or hip replacement would be later in life, in 50s and above, and the more complex a deformity is, probably the better candidate they would be, because that helps me with more accuracy in assessing how to correct their deformity and how to size their implants and balance their knee afterward. I think it helps speed things up so that the patient's not under anesthesia as long. We don't have to use as much instrumentation. The precision is better. outcome will be better.
People ask me all the time, when do I need surgery, or, and they kind of want you to tell them when to operate, but I tell my patients, you want to try all conservative measures first. And then when it gets to the point where every day that you get up, you're thinking about your knee, and it affects your ability to do things, and your ability to do things you enjoy, it not only will affect your knee, it'll affect your overall lifestyle. I mean, people's moods get affected, and when it comes to that point where you've tried all the things there is to try conservatively, you've exhausted all those efforts, then that's when it's time to do surgery.
From a patient perspective, I think they go into surgery having increased confidence that the surgeon is not only going to do a good job, but they're going to have a very accurate, well-balanced knee, and hopefully that will translate into less pain, better flexibility, and more natural demotion after surgery. So I think technology will be very important for the future, but what I'm more interested in is how my patients are functioning, how they're experiencing pain, and then what non-operative treatments have we tried.
Now we have the ability to be able to essentially balance the whole knee and have a roadmap and a double check system of what to do. I think we're going to be in such a better place on patient satisfaction, getting patients back to doing what they want to do much quicker, and just their overall lifestyle being improved because we have the technology available is just unremarkable.
I'd now like to welcome Robert Parker to the stage.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Kathleen. Our speaker today is University of Kentucky Cardiothoracic Surgeon, Dr. Timothy Mullett, the Medical Director of the Markey Cancer Center Network. Also in 2020, Dr. Mullett was appointed the Chair of the Commission on Cancer. The COC is a consortium of professional organizations dedicated to improving cancer patient survival and quality of life. The program provides high-quality cancer care closer to home at collaborating centers through specialty services, education, and outreach programs. Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital is an active part of the Markey Cancer Center Research Network and also the Gill Heart Affiliate Network. The Markey affiliate is a collaborative network of sites throughout the state that conduct a portfolio of high-priority trials, including therapeutic oncology trials and interventional and non-interventional studies appropriate for community centers. And on a personal note, Dr. Mullett, for a guy who transplants hearts and lungs for a living, is just a good friend and a super nice person who truly cares about the health of those in our Commonwealth. We now want to watch a short video expanding on Dr. Mullett's background and work at the University of Kentucky.
Timothy Mullett. I'm a professor of thoracic surgery at the University of Kentucky, and I'm the medical director for the Markey Cancer Center Affiliate Network and the Markey Cancer Center Research Network. When I came here, I started with cardiac surgery and was working in that area and worked in heart transplants and directed the lung transplant program for 15 years, and all of that was very exciting, but along the way, we were still plagued with this problem with lung cancer, and how were we going to attack the challenge of getting so many patients with late-stage lung cancer diagnosed in our region. In 2010, 2011, data came out talking about the advantages of lung cancer screening, and it has shown a tremendous improvement in the survival for lung cancer by being able to find patients early with that disease. So we started to apply that here. Dr. Eric Benzadoun, one of our pulmonologists, has organized that program, and then there's a whole research project that is surrounding lung cancer screening and early detection programs. And so I think if we are taking on lung cancer as our biggest challenge, we're bringing all the guns. And so we have early detection, and we have clinical trials that are across the board in how we take care of lung cancer. and trying to be able to show that this is a disease that we're not just going to accept. It's a disease that we're going to take head on. My professional life, things that I had considered where I spent most of my time for a long time was taking care of other patients, and so getting to know them and getting to know the impact of the disease, or at least thinking I did. Until in 2012, when I was returning home from a tour in Afghanistan as an Army surgeon and was diagnosed with cancer myself. And so I had some pain, had some studies, had some bad tests and positive biopsy, and then ultimately that led to treatment, which thankfully has been very successful. But that period of time of going through those examinations and going through that assessment and so forth was something that I had only seen in my patients and not really experienced. And not that every physician, thankfully, needs to go through that sort of thing, but it certainly was able to put that perspective in place for me to be able to say that that understanding the distress that's present in patients, whether they demonstrate it or not, understanding the knowledge deficit that's present in patients needs to be addressed, and being able to work on helping patients through the system and being able to work on just helping that human side of things. As we work with the Markey Cancer Center affiliate network in right now 16 hospitals around the region and an expanding number, we're going out to other programs and evaluating their programs, seeing how we can make them better. And so now it's not just taking care of one patient at a time in the operating room, it's taking care of a whole bunch of folks and having an impact that's making a difference in the region. So it's pretty exciting.
Dr. Mullett, welcome to our chamber meeting today, and we look forward to your presentation.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to be here today. Well, you all know me now, so it's an opportunity for me to be able to talk a little bit about some other folks that you may need to know more about in your community and in our state. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and thank the Chamber and all the leaders that have been able to put this together, and specifically want to thank Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital for inviting me to be able to come here and talk a little bit about cancer in Kentucky. You know, this is a disease that we've all been influenced by, we've all been affected, whether it's our loved ones or ourselves, and certainly through the work that's being done in your hospital right here. But I want to share with you some examples of how we all can work together to be able to make this a disease we can have even a bigger impact on. So cancer in Kentucky has been a dominant influence in our lives, and has certainly been one that has affected us in so many ways. Keep going. And when we look at this, we can see so many areas that Kentucky, unfortunately, is recognized for leading in a negative way. Opportunities that we see Kentucky is ranked in lung cancer, all cancers, oral cancers, cervical cancers, melanoma, all of these areas that we are in the top 5 in the bad way. And so when we see this kind of an influence, it makes us look and see what are the commonalities that are associated with this and why is it making such a difference. Some of those reasons are identified here. So recognizing cancer types where we are ranked in the top 5 and diseases that are as common to all of us as lung and colorectal, head and neck cancer, cervical, and melanoma. And then risk factors that are associated with this are certainly appreciated across the state. Tobacco exposure, obesity, environmental exposures, and viral infections such as HPV and hepatocellular carcinoma or hepatocellular virus in the liver. And unfortunately, these things do not influence all people equally. And so it's important for us to recognize that these disparities exist for socioeconomic factors, for geographic factors, racial and ethnic disparities, and certainly poverty is present in many regions of Kentucky that are influenced to a dramatic level in cancer. To look at it pictorially, we can see that Kentucky is certainly below the national average in educational attainment. We're second in adult smoking prevalence. We certainly are identified for our environmental exposures, which not only include tobacco choices, but also radon levels in certain regions of the state, and also number one in HCV or liver cancers. And so these are influencing not just one region of our state, they influence all of our regions. The increasing influence of IV drug use and fentanyl exposure, and not only is leading to mortality in that way, but it's increasing our viral exposure, which is certainly going to see a rise in cancer cases over the next 20 years. Next slide. Slide. So I want to introduce to you a document which has been put together by our Community Impact Office at Markey Cancer Center. And this is something that I want each of you to look at this website, see if you can track this down. There's a paper version of this, which is beautiful, laid out in so many different ways, but this defines, for Kentucky, the needs assessment from a cancer perspective. Now, many facilities, all hospitals in Kentucky have to generate a needs assessment as part of their Medicaid qualifications, but many of them don't reference cancer at all. And with cancer being such a burden, Pam Hull, Dr. Hull in our Community Impact Office was influential in leading the opportunity to gather information, to put it in one place with a common story to talk about cancer in Kentucky and why it's a problem. This is an example of the shaded areas where we are recognized for being higher in incidence or higher in influence and across the country. And so I encourage you to look at this on the website where you can read all of these and see the areas to pay further attention. And then it goes further to talk about the next, the reason why these cancers are high and the influences that we've described on the previous slides, but how it's pictorially represented in the cancers that we take care of. Next slide. So when we look at our top cancers that we see female breast and prostate leading the numbers of cancers that are showing up. This is incidence, and so the numbers of cancers that we see, followed by lung and colon and rectal. However, when we look at mortality, then you can see that lung cancer leads the way far and away above any of the others, and certainly it leads the way in the rest of the country as well. So this is an area that we need to spend more attention on, and Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital has been doing that. They've been dedicating time to be able to influence the work that's being done in lung cancer and to focus on that. And Dr. Schuldeis is doing some great work, and she's talked with you before about the lung nodule program, so I encourage us to pay attention to that because it probably has the biggest opportunity for us to influence this mortality. But it is not just one thing, and it's not certainly just tobacco, and it's not just age, and it's not just Kentucky. There are a number of influences that go on to cause us to have a higher risk for cancer, developing it in the first place, but also a higher risk of not surviving our cancers. And so we have to understand that this is not just establishing a diagnosis, but it's actually looking at our population and being able to influence these factors which are driving our cancer numbers so high. Next slide. So in this document, the Cancer Needs Assessment for Kentucky, you can also find some facts that are critical for you, and I think from a business perspective, this is very important for us to understand the influence that a cancer diagnosis has on our employees, has on our population that we take care of, and also on our financial status. Next slide. In the document, you'll see some descriptions of urban areas, rural areas, where Appalachia is, and then begin to understand where those risks are highest. Next slide. So here you can see graphic description of where Kentucky is compared to the U.S. averages. When we see our population in the U.S. represented in the lower left-hand corner, and then Kentucky represented in the upper left-hand corner, the dramatic the discrepancy that exists between the white population in the U.S. versus the white population in Kentucky, certainly in Appalachia, urban areas, and others. So it gives you a chance to be able to segregate our thinking of our population so that we can be able to represent our patients and to represent our population better. Next slide. Those risk factors are not evenly distributed, and so it's important for us to look at the population that we serve, but also the population that we are living in, and understand our risk for the disease, understand how we can reduce that, understand that we've got some specific treatments that may not be used. Just a great example with the orthopedic piece, that video is spectacular, but that video is really scary to somebody that doesn't understand how that tool can be applied to them. And so they've got to be, that's got to be spoken to them in a way that they can see this also from something that can make them feel better at all levels of socioeconomic factors. We see this in lung cancer screening, where it's a scary thing to go into a fancy-looking CT scanner, and it looks really expensive and it looks really hard. But we've got to be able to speak to the level of poverty and to the level of understanding that people have so that it is translated and it's thought of as something that can help everybody. The distribution of our black population is very different in different regions of Kentucky. And so we have to recognize that our marketing tools and our opportunities to be able to spread the word through community health workers that are working in that community are distributed appropriately. Next level. And so in the growing Hispanic population, we also are seeing a continued influence in this. And so we need to realize that there are languages that need to be spoken. We need to make sure that our marketing, that our tools, that our treatments are delivered in ways that can be understood by people at highest risk. In the document, you'll see information about college graduation. You'll see information about the economics of, go ahead, next slide, of our state, and see how we compared to the rest of the country, and also how different sectors within our population compare within our country or within our state. Next slide. So for example, household income is represented here in the darker purple in lower household income compared to the rest of the state. Certainly Pulaski County and Somerset has done better in this region, and that's exciting. And so lessons learned here could be translated in other areas to be able to make certain that our health care in these other areas as well as here are delivered well. Next slide. And so persistent poverty is a challenge in these areas where they have been below the poverty level in excess of 10 years. And so this is something that we need to recognize. And again, you all stand out in this area as an opportunity. And certainly lessons learned here we would hope could be translated. Medicaid enrollment in the cancer needs assessment is represented to help us understand how we can, again, market ourselves to these populations that are most at risk and understand the limitations that are present within their lives. Next slide. It gets much more specific when we begin to look at district summaries, and so area development districts are represented, and each one of these has, the next slide, separate pages that are identified, and yours is shown here with the specifics that represent the social determinants of health. These are risk factors for many diseases, not just cancer, so it's important for us to understand how that fits. Next slide. And also some cancer-related outcomes that are present in your area development district to be able to understand how this can be used in your to help your population, even to help your population of your employees, to be able to help them recognize and identify risks so that they can be more functional employees and avoiding cancer or detecting it early. Next slide. And so it allows you to see where you are compared to the rest of the state in regards to your cancer incidence, your cancer mortality. So it's an opportunity to see not just the statewide picture, but also a local representation of what the risks are for you. Next slide. So I've been talking about cancers in general and then some specifics, but I do think that we want to recognize that we are at a very important time when it comes to understanding the diagnosis of cancer. The cancer mortality is decreasing, and in fact, cancer incidence is declining as well. And so a lot of that is being driven by work that's done in lung cancer. And certainly in Kentucky, it's the same. Next slide. So I think that it's important for us to understand that at a time when we have new tools that are coming forward to talk about lung cancer, whether it's screening or whether it's biomarkers or whether it's better surgical treatment, better radiation techniques, new modalities in the bronchoscopy suite, all of these things need to be brought forward to recognize that this is a cancer that we have to embrace. This is a cancer that we have to take on and be able to have an influence that will actually lead the rest of the country. Next slide. If we look back to where lung cancer was in 2014, we were number 1 in adolescent smoking. We were number 1 in adult smoking. We were number 1 in lung cancer incidence, and we were number 1 in lung cancer mortality, and clearly we had a target that identified that we were unique. Even though this is a high burden for Kentucky, this is an influence across the entire country, and so if we can make something work here, it's going to make a difference elsewhere. I want to just show you briefly what's happening with incidence, numbers of cancers that are identified every year over time. And so this is a 20-year graph that's looking at a significant drop in the incidence of lung cancer. We're seeing a declining number of smokers. That's good, even in Kentucky. But if you look at it more recently, we're seeing that decline to go down more dramatically than it was before. And if you look at it as men versus women, you see actually the decline in men is significant, but in women it's actually been increasing over the last 20 years. So it's important that we separate our data and look at it in different ways. For example, this is white versus black. And you can see that, yes, the decline is happening in white population, but it's also happening in the black population. In fact, it's even faster decline in the incidence of lung cancer in black population than it is in whites. Next slide. And so in Appalachia, it's also shown to be declining, but not as fast as it is in those areas that are non-Appalachian. So I think it's next slide. And then finally, if we look at this by race, ethnicity, and see our white population, this is University of Kentucky data in the first column, and we can see that we have the early stage diagnosis in the lower portion of the column and late stage diagnosis in the higher portion of the column, compared to the black population, which sees a higher late stage diagnosis. We need to do better at finding those cancers early. But surprisingly, looking at the third column, the Hispanic population has no one diagnosed in an early stage. So we need to do better at being able to recognize that we need to speak a language and we need to be in a community that understands this population and how we can communicate with them. Next slide. So I think it's important that we target our strategies to recognize language barriers, educational barriers, access barriers, geography, to make sure that we can reach these people where they are. Next slide. Screening, this is looking at different screening rates for, next slide, for colon cancer, for breast cancer, and for cervical cancers. And Kentucky has been about in the middle of the pack as far as the states are concerned. But in lung cancer, it's come onto the screen relatively recently in 2011, and then going up through its approval in 2015. The largest clinical trial, randomized clinical trial that's been done in the country was done in lung cancer screening, and it showed a 20% reduction in mortality from lung cancer. That's huge. That's larger than any influence of the chemotherapy agents and others. But lung cancer screening is actually fairly fragile because it's new, only approved in 2015. It's not often in the workflow for primary care. And so some of the metrics, some of the measurements that primary care are given are being looked at in different ways. And lung cancer is not in that list. Every year, patients who are at risk those that have smoked at least 20 years, typically 20-pack years, those that are between 50 and 80 years old need to get a low-dose CT scan, no contrast, takes a few seconds, lay down, get the scan done, and then go home. It's very easy, it's painless, no injections, and should be done every year. But retention for these patients is a challenge, getting them to come back every year. And so in the nation, it's down to less than 30%, and we need to do better. But it's very fragile, as I said, and so with the pandemic, with other influences that come on, people may not be coming back. So we need to be reaching to this population wherever they are to be able to see this. And Kentucky has been doing a very good job. This is an area that we are standing out at the top of the ladder, not at the bottom. So you can see the U.S. rate is around 6% in the 2021 data of those patients that are eligible for getting a scan. Only 6 out of 100 are actually getting scanned. You saw before, around 60 to 80% of people with colon and breast cancer. Nationally, we're at 6%, but Kentucky is nearly 18%. So we are one of the top 2 states in the country hitting those people that need to be scanned every year for their lung cancer screening. And then if you look in the right-hand side, you can see that of those states that have a high burden of cancer, we're doing better than anyone. And so this is an area that we want to continue to accelerate, continue to push, continue to recognize the importance of pulmonary nodules, the idea of screening, the idea of rising this tide so that more patients can get to this early stage of diagnosis. And ideally talking to them about tobacco treatment or radon exposure and decreasing their risk all the way. Next slide. So here we can see that as far as I've been tracking this data, we've seen lung cancer late stage diagnosis about 80% of the time. Most patients, 80% of them who are diagnosed, are found to have this late in their stage. So they're already spread to someplace else, or it's otherwise at risk. But in the last several years, we've seen this decline. We've seen late-stage diagnosis decline, and that's never been seen before. The only thing that's happening is lung cancer screening, which is beginning to pick up. And that's only at 18%. Can you imagine that what would happen if we were at 60 or 70 or 80% of the people that are eligible? If you take a group of patients who are likely to have a survival of only 4 to 10%, likelihood of being alive 5 years after a diagnosis, and you move that patient into a group where they are 70%, maybe 80% likely to be alive, you are going to dramatically shift survival in lung cancer. So I'm thinking that what we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years is that lung cancer mortality, the actual risk of dying from this overall diagnosis, is going to be dropping by 30 or 40%. And so that's only going to happen if we continue to drive lung cancer screening forward. And we're doing that, but we need to all work together to be able to see this happen. And it's happening across the state, but it's not evenly distributed. It's not only in one area that we see this. It happens to be in areas where we conducted a clinical trial and we promoted this and we measured it and we improved the quality of screening in those dark blue areas. But there are areas such as southwestern Kentucky and certainly north central Kentucky where we could do a better job. So we've got areas that we need to work on, but I think that it's certainly better in this state. So I see that today we're in a time with cancer diagnoses that we have populations at risk. We have segments of our population that are at higher risk. At the same time, we have opportunities for us to be able to move that patient from that highest risk group into a lower risk group by several attitudes of addressing tobacco use, addressing obesity, addressing thoughts about early detection, and being able to promote what we already know is working. But thank you for letting me have the opportunity to talk with you today, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Okay, did anyone have any questions? Okay. Dr. Mullett, we really appreciate you speaking with our community today. And we wanted to present you with this Friend of the Chamber certificate to always let you know you have a friend here in Somerset and Pulaski County. Thank you so much. I'll get a picture right here. Thank you so much. Okay. So go ahead and be getting your tickets out. Our next chamber luncheon will be Tuesday, October 4th, and our guest speaker is Chris Joslin with the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum. Obviously with MMF, I'm really excited about next month, but I'm not going to be here, and it's the only excuse Bobby would take, but I'm actually getting married the night before of our next luncheon, so I won't be here, but thank you. Sean will take good care of us. So let's get our tickets out. And okay. Next, from the Job Shop, we have a $25 gift card to Texas Roadhouse. And that is 1423. Over here. Congratulations. Okay, the UPS store. We have a mug and an umbrella. A white ticket, 7026. No? Okay, we'll draw another. And that is 1374. Over here in the back. Okay, next, from Midland Farms, there's their Spectacular Car Wash. So this is the one on Midland Farms, convenience store at 914 and Oak Hill Road. We're going to be giving 2 of these away, but they're 4 car washes in each package. So the first one goes to 1393, all the way in the back. And the next one is also a white ticket, 7019. Oh, the very back. Okay, and the last gift is from Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital. It is a really cool Yeti mug, lunchbox with a coffee cup. I'd like to have this, but I can't win. 1279. Oh, good. Okay, to conclude our meeting, we will have Robert Parker come up and lead the pledge. Thank you, everybody. Oh, redonate. Okay, let's do it. It's a wedding gift. Thanks. No, I'm just kidding. 1368. Oh, okay, hold on. We're rigging here. Let's go. This always happens. 1288. Oh, the way in the back. All right. Robert Parker. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody.